Let's bring in ABC News contributor and former U.S. ambassador to NATO, retired Lieutenant General Doug Lute. Thanks so much for joining us. President Trump is touting this framework of a Greenland deal and reversing the tariff threats. Why the sudden reversal?
Well, that's a really good question. It may be the one-day 2% drop in the U.S. stock market. It might be that the European Parliament has set aside movement on the trade deal, the EU-U.S. trade deal, which was agreed back in July. It may be that the EU's statement that the U.S. could expect reciprocal tariffs. So if the Trump administration imposed tariffs on EU countries, the EU would reciprocate. Could be any one of those. All of those together, however, add up to the potential of a significant economic impact in the months before the November midterm elections. So it could be any one of those.
As a former U.S. ambassador to NATO, what's your assessment of what unfolded today?
So I think that cooler heads prevailed. While President Trump landed in Davos with this very strong, assertive, aggressive rhetoric of potential military force and tariffs, within a few hours, he reversed course. I give credit here in part to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and it was apparently in a meeting with Rutte that this cooperative compromise arrangement was at least outlined. I think the devil here, though, will be in the details, and whether or not the details, once they become transparent, once we know about them, they become public, whether those are sufficient to meet the president's demands.
The Danish Minister of Foreign Affairs told ABC News that they welcome the president's remarks today and, quote, now let's sit down and find out how we can address the American security concerns in the Arctic while at the same time respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark. Where do things go from here with Greenland and Denmark?
Well, I think if this concept develops into actual negotiations, probably NATO may well be the venue where the now 32 allies come together and discuss. I think the broader topic won't be just Greenland. It'll be the security of the Arctic region, and of course, of the 8 countries in the world that have territories north of the Arctic Circle. 7 of the 8 are NATO allies. So I think NATO is a logical format for taking on these security concerns above the Arctic Circle.
Prior to today, President Trump had some rather harsh words and warnings for NATO allies, but the European leaders stood their ground as well. What's the lasting impact of all of this?
Well, I'm concerned that the lasting impact is an erosion, a steady erosion under this administration of the trust that is the sort of binding glue for the NATO alliance. You know, NATO fundamentally is an alliance that relies on confidence among each of the 32 that the others have their back on the security arena. And I think episodes like this Greenland episode over the last several days begins to erode that trust and causes NATO allies to wonder, is the U.S. really there for us? Can we count on U.S. leadership as we have over the previous 75 years of NATO?
Are you seeing a shift in how allies respond to President Trump?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think today could be a bit of a turning of the corner where allies, in particular by way of economic tools in the European Union, where allies coalesce and bring a strong counterposition to the table, rather than simply paying homage to the U.S. president. So this could be an important trend in the future. And it's important for us as Americans to remember that the 27 members of the European Union include 21 NATO allies. So there's a substantial membership overlap between the European Union on the economic front and NATO on the security front.
Retired Lieutenant General Doug Lute, we thank you so much. Appreciate it.